Me how fucking rotten you are, and fucked up, and you know he gives me the shakes. He's
well, that's, and if you
he
think
can fuck you up with a phone call.
that's, yeah, and I think he's been asked to do that over and over and over as a job, and if he doesn't do it, he's fired. See, this is the thing, is that a lot of people want to be successful in the world, and then they don't realize what they're asked to do to be successful.
That's right.
And then all the things they're asked to do to be successful take their toll on their brain. You know, I think this is why Bob likes me. I think this is why Andy likes me, is that they've lived enough life. They are my elders. They've lived enough life to understand I don't have to put up with this, and it's nice to just be able to sit down and have an in-depth conversation about all these ideas and things I've always wanted to talk about. Finally have somebody to talk to them about it.
Hello.
You know? But it doesn't mean that they will threaten in any way the established system. They already know. They've learned that lesson. You don't. It's like Phil said. The first rule to any system is support the system.
You die if you don't.
Yeah. And Phil is a handyman, living on his own from place to place to place to place.
I'm a handy man. Can I handy that part of your fence in picture?
And I tell you, Phil is one of the technically most capable people I have ever met in my life.
He's very dexterous.
He can take anything that's broken and fix it, so it looks like a professional, somebody who makes hundreds of dollars an hour in craftsmanship is done. You know, haven't seen it. You know, it doesn't matter what the machine is or what the construction is. He can do it. You know, he can lead people if he wants to, but he realizes he doesn't want to do that anymore. You know.
When I first met him, he was doing those cars for that guy, and I saw things.
He was just getting by. That was at the beginning.
Yeah, I saw things. I didn't say nothing.
Since we've been known him, he's totally gone to a different level where he has said, "I'm going to be my own boss instead of being hired by other."
Oh yeah, I'm not
you know,
and anymore. But yeah, Phil's really good. I don't bother Phil.
And what I like about it is that he knew right off that the guy that was customizing all those muscle cars and selling them overseas for big money, that guy was cheating people. And Phil didn't want to have anything to do with it, but he was just making his, his child care payments,
right.
child support payments,
right.
and stuff. You know, not that he has any. He doesn't have any payments because.
How's this kid doing now?
He's just another brilliant kid. You know, just another brilliant kid.
Aquarius.
Yeah, I tell you.
Aquarius.
Aquariuses are awesome. If
They
they're not fucked up.
But I've seen them go loop. I knew one that came up to me and go, I could just blow my brains out.
Talk about going nuclear.
I could just blow my brains out. And I went, how you been lately, Aunt so-and-so? I could just blow my brains out. Guess what? 357. This lady took a 357 full charge Magnum and went boom.
That's sad.
It's all sad. Y'all come from my mom's side family. You betcha. I'm gonna fart now. I hope it don't burn my leg off. Yeah, it was a real trip. The thing I'm coming to now, Damon, is I'm an Aquarius in Uranus and Kelp Bay.
Yeah.
I'm yours, baby. Let's make a deal.
Just remember that your moon is conjunct your Uranus. And so the emotional ups and downs, the filling up and emptying out.
Oh, wow.
In fact, if I were you, that's your creative imagination. Uranus has an incredible imagination. And they can have these transcendental experiences and stuff, these huge world views. Realize the moon, where the moon is. The moon is filling up now. So you can have all this experience of this expanding vision, but then you can go through an emotional experience of draining out into darkness.
That's right.
Okay? So take that into effect, that when you're having your active imagination and all that, your creative imagination, that it's affected by this process of filling up and emptying out, filling up and emptying out. And so that you can better manage yourself when you're going through the experience of filling up to the full vision and then emptying out into complete darkness.
Oh, I see that.
You know, a lot of us like to think, because we were raised Christian, that God has it all figured out and it's all just fine and all we got to do is just go for it. No, we've got to be self-responsible, self-accountable individuals, and there are influences on us that are, they may be astronomical, but we have to take responsibility for them. You know, that's the thing that Bob was in charge of all the prisons, 65,000 people employed under him, but he had to take responsibility for it, you know. And there's some things he just lightheartedly, in a lighthearted way, just said, well, it's more than I can handle, you know. Delegating authority. That's one of the most important things as a manager. You delegate. Okay, I want you to be in charge of this because I see you got the skill for that. I want you to be in charge of this because you got the skill for that.
That's such a shoe-in. Anyhow.
But within ourselves, we've got aspects that we haven't come in contact with, and we don't know what their skill set is, you know. And so, as the manager of ourselves, it's a continually new discovery. That's why I think, you know, this is just a big school. Courtrooms are just learning how to communicate. If they knew how to communicate, they wouldn't have these conflicts. They go do their own damn thing, you know. So all the systems are just in a process of learning how to do it. They're not masters of it. They're learning how to do it. And you know, I look at these few individuals that I really respect that have mastered something, and I realize they stay within their context in which they thrive. They don't go out. They stay within this little thing. But their life has all these other aspects that, you know, they don't master. They don't master this and that and the other. They only have this little thing, you know. My dad had this guy that was in his 80s that did all his woodworking, and he was, you know, an older gentleman. He couldn't do it all the time, but he loved working on furniture. And he probably one of the best furniture makers west of the Mississippi at the time when he lived. And he worked right until he was 100, but he stayed within that. You know, he stayed within that.
Nice stuff.
His son, however, was an artist. And that guy was out there. And he could not manage his life. He could not manage his money. He couldn't manage anything. He lived with his dad his whole life. And his mom, till she passed away. You know. And I look at the children as a reflection of the aspects of the parents.
Oh my God!
You see, so this was an aspect that never got a chance to go have a life because his dad stayed within what he could master. He stayed right within that. And then the child reflected this aspect that was neglected, that never had an opportunity to develop. And that was the true artist in him. The father was a true artist, a master craftsman. But since he stayed within that little limit, he never really made it an art. But his son did. His son was a sculptor. He made all kinds of sculptures. Just incredible.
Nice stuff, huh?
Well, it was disturbed, to say the least. You could tell that he was fragmented. He was not whole.